ball game. Take me out to the ground.
Good morning on this wonderful Football Friday morning here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. Tony Agolini is on the way. We're going to do a little take me out to the ball game as we get you warmed up here on a beautiful Friday morning. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they hold on. They beat the Dallas Cowboys, and what a game it was as we had it go down to the wire. The Buccaneers, if you missed it, they kick a game-winning field goal with just seconds left on the clock. Brady leads them down the field, and we have got a Football Friday in store for you today as Justin Waller's on the way, Matt Carr is on the way, and Tony Agolini will be with us momentarily. But we're going to go ahead and hit the scoreboard as we get you warmed up here on this Friday morning. Okay, like I said, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 31-29 winners. And the big thing you take away from this, offense is king in the National Football League, because Buccaneers, who are one of the best defenses in the NFL, give up 400 yards passing to Dak Prescott. They give up just 60 yards on the ground, but Tom Brady also throws for 379 yards, a total of 7 touchdown passes in the first game of the NFL season. So we should have a light show going on this weekend as the NFL gets kicked off, and we get excited for that. Antonio Brown with 121 yards, Godwin with 105 yards, Amari Cooper 139 yards, and CeeDee Lamb with 104 yards. So those are your wide receivers. Everyone's going to be running out there to try to get via trade, if there's any on the waiver wire, et cetera, et cetera. As far as the running game goes, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about with that, because both teams did not run the ball well. Fournette, 9 rushes, 32 yards. Ronald Jones, the second or junior, however I've never heard him. I've always heard his Rojo. 4 rushes for 14 yards, putrid. And Ezekiel Elliott, 11 rushes, 33 yards. Tony Pollard, 3 rushes for 14 yards. So if you have Ezekiel Elliott, you're probably freaking out. And we'll get more into that as the day goes on. But Ezekiel Elliott, not what you wanted out of a first-round pick. I stayed away from him in a lot of drafts. I believe I have him in 1, and I might have him in 2. But I tried to stay away from him. I honestly didn't want him in any. But there came a draft where I kind of broke down and said, well, I like to kind of spread the wealth with my picks, and I don't like to just go with one player or the other, because you get an injury or something, your season is wrecked. Speaking of that, Gus Edwards, he looks like he is out for the season with an ACL tear. So the Baltimore Ravens, they are reeling right now. I mean, absolutely reeling. They are at the point now where they are going to start trying to bring in guys who couldn't find a job a few days ago. Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Freeman. They've even talked about other running backs as well. They are in a free fall right now. They haven't even played a game, and they don't have a single viable running back healthy that you would consider an established running back in the league. So you got guys. Tyson Williams will probably get the start on Monday night against the Raiders. But even with that being said, you're talking about a team that is in flux, because it's going to be a heavy dose of Lamar Jackson. If you got Lamar Jackson on your fantasy team, you got to like that, because it's going to be a heavy dose of him. What you don't like about it is defense is going to be keying on him. You know, you already lost Dobbins. Now you've lost Edwards, by far the 2 best running backs on the Baltimore organization's roster. And when you look at the other teams that are out there, or the other running backs that they're talking about bringing in, man, these are guys that are past their prime. So definitely a big time freak out in Baltimore. And you can't blame them. A team that I'm sure a lot of Baltimore fans thought that if things fell the right way, they could even be possibly Super Bowl contenders. And now you wonder if they're even division contenders. So we move on from that. Major League Baseball, real quick, as it's heating up. There's 3 weeks until the final weekend, and the Atlanta Braves came back in fine fashion. I mean, that was a rock and roll back and forth seesaw of a game, and the Braves walk it off in the bottom of the ninth as Jock Peterson walks off with a bases loaded single to win the game. Webb gets the win, but that's not really the story. The story was the Braves hit 5 home runs to win that ball game. Stephen Vogt hit 2. It looks like he has injured his hamstring. We'll get more verification of that later. Braves country will come your way at 10 a.m. Eastern. All right. Cardinals beat the Dodgers yesterday. A's beat the White Sox. And then you had the Marlins upending the Mets. So the Mets lose the series against Miami in Miami. The Phillies come back in a dramatic home run, a walk-off home run, and not walk-off, but I'm sorry, because it was the top of the ninth. But they hit a dramatic 2-run shot to take the lead in the 9th inning, and they come back and stun the Phillies, and the Blue Jays beat the Yankees again. So this is what you have going into today with the standings be like this on September 10th. 2021, Tampa Bay still has a 9-game lead over Boston, a 10-game lead over the Yankees. They have, for all intents and purposes, Tampa Bay's winning the East. White Sox are winning the Central. And the Astros would have to collapse to lose the West. They're 5.5 games up. In the National League, the Braves now have a 3.5 game lead on the Phillies and a 5 on the Mets. Remember, the last week of the season, the Braves play both of those teams, but it is in Atlanta, Georgia. Milwaukee, 12 games up on Cincinnati. That division is a wrap. Giants, 2.5 games up on the Dodgers. They will go to the Cubs this weekend, and the Dodgers will host San Diego. A big series for both teams. San Diego is still trying to get into the wild card, and the Dodgers still trying to catch the Giants for the division lead. Now, the rest of the wild card looks like this as we head into 3 weekends left to baseball. Boston has a 1-game lead over the Yankees for the final playoffs spots, for the 2 final wildcard spots. Toronto Blue Jays are now a half game out. Yankees are going to be on alert. They are traveling to the Mets this weekend to play the New York Mets for a 3-game series. Toronto's going to Baltimore. Boston's going to the White Sox. A lot of things can happen and move and shake. And don't be surprised if at the end of the weekend, Toronto is in first place, because they'll most likely sweep the Baltimore Orioles, and then we're really going to have a mess at the end. And moving on from that, in the National League, we've got San Francisco 49ers. Not 49ers, sorry. San Francisco Giants. I got football on the brain. San Francisco Giants. They are obviously leading their division. They also have the best record in the National League. So they've got a pretty steady lead. If they win the division, they should have the best record in baseball. Milwaukee has a very strong lead over Atlanta for that second spot. So if it ended today, Atlanta would go to Milwaukee for a 5-game set. First 2 being in Milwaukee, then Atlanta, then Milwaukee. As far as the wild card goes, it really comes down to the Padres, the Reds, and the Cardinals, and the Phillies. And you kind of have to cut it off there. And we'll get more into baseball. Tony is coming on, so we'll set this aside because it is time to talk some Gators and golf with Tony Agalini. As we wait for Tony to join us here on another great football Friday morning, as we get prepared to talk some Gators and golf with Tony Aguilini. For people who are just trying to figure out, these Fridays are going to be mega shows. They're just going to be one long show. It really does mess up the whole thing to keep stopping and starting. So we're just going to do one long show on Fridays. Mr. Tony Aguilini, how the hell are you?
Good, man. Welcome back. Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. I still
how does 50 feel?
Have you been to Nashville recently?
Last time we went was probably 2-3 years ago, I think. 3 years ago.
You would not recognize it. It is exploded. Highly recommend it for anyone who is looking to travel this fall. If you got an excuse to go to Nashville, go there. I mean, it's just, there's the stuff that you can't get it all done in the 4 or 5 days we were there, but it is just, they've added so much stuff. They've got a food court that is on steroids that when you see it, Tony, the first thing you're going to think of is, this is what Jacksonville keeps saying that they're going to try to do for the last 30 years down by the water, right? This thing, if they could have ever pulled this off in Jacksonville on the water, it would be enormous. But anyways, we move on from Nashville and we get to the heart of the matter, which is football. By the way, did you watch the game last night?
I caught the first like 2.5 quarters or so. I had to kind of call it a night, but saw that the Bucks won. Heard it was a thriller, and I'll catch up on it in a little bit.
Yeah, it was a great game. Typical fashion, you score and you leave too much time on the clock for Tom Brady. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And he did something that you're not going to see a lot of people do, as far as being sharp enough to do. They get down there in field goal position, so they know for a fact that they're going to be around 35-yard field goal. But there's about 20 or so seconds left. And as opposed to like just trying to run the ball into the ground or whatnot, Brady threw 3 consecutive incomplete passes to just kill clock. He, talking about dropping back like for like two or 3 steps, realizing no one was open, skied it into the stands, did the same thing for 3 consecutive plays, and you quickly realize what he's doing. He's making it where that when they do kick that field goal, because Dallas still had their timeouts, that Dallas was going to end up with no time on the clock, maybe 4 seconds. So once again, the everyone keeps doubting Brady. I actually had a TikTok argument with the guy the other day, and he wouldn't put him in his top 5, but he was a young kid. I was like, until you beat him, he's the best in the game.
Yeah,
I hate to tell people who hate Tom Brady, but Tom Brady is the best quarterback in the National Football League. Until you prove to me that you can knock him out of the playoffs, to me, that's the bottom line. And he looked sharp again last night. I don't know what Fountain of Youth, whatever the hell he's getting. Maybe that's why he moved to Tampa, because he'd be just a little closer to St. Augustine in the Fountain of Youth. That's the only thing I can figure out. But anyways, we move on for that, because I have not seen you in almost a couple of weeks, and a lot to unpack from last weekend and then going into this college football weekend. What did you think of your Gators, first of all, in their first game of the season? Were they never in doubt, right, but they didn't win in the fashion that I think a lot of Gator fans expected?
Yeah, kind of a funky game. It was only 14-0 at halftime. We had a interception in the red zone right at the goal line. I'm not quite sure what Emory Jones was looking at there. And then we had a miscommunication on the sidelines, which somehow led to us running a quarterback sneak from the 4-yard line on 4th down. So I think it was a combination. Somebody didn't know what down it was, which is a little crazy. And then somebody saw the wrong signal from the sideline. You usually have like 2 or 3 signal guys, and somebody was looking at the wrong cue. So those two mistakes kind of kept it from being 28-0 at halftime. FAU never really did much on offense. We played pretty soft on defense, really just didn't want to get beat with a big play. I think we didn't learn a whole lot. It was good to kind of see like what maybe the offensive line will look like as far as names go across. They really had FAU obviously outmanned. FAU has a few good players. The running back's a little scatterback from USF. N'Kosi Perry played quarterback for them. They've got a couple defensive transfers, one kid from Auburn that kind of impact guys. But overall, as a team, they're obviously not on Florida's level. They may win their conference. It's them and UAB who plays Georgia on Saturday. Those are kind of the two teams to watch, I guess, in that conference. But yeah, overall, I think it went better than what the fans thought. I think there's a lot of overreaction for the defense playing soft, but there's really no reason to do anything too creative or exotic against FAU. And on offense, I think we really just wanted to kind of run the ball as much as possible and kind of get Emory comfortable. That's the one thing. He never quite looked comfortable. He kind of made a few mistakes early that kind of sat with him instead of him kind of shaking it off and, live the next play. So we'll see kind of how his temperament changes this week against a USF team that FAU would beat. And I think this USF team is a long-term project for their coach who came from Clemson.
I didn't get a chance to watch much of the game because obviously we're out and about in Nashville. I'm really looking forward to this weekend where I can actually watch games and absorb them. There's only a couple of games that I actually, watched in its entirety. But from what I saw, because it was going on at the same time as the Georgia Clemson game was going on, and obviously most TVs were on that, but I had where I could see both. It looked kind of like a team that was kind of flat. I'm not even going to say that they didn't look good, but they didn't look great.
Right.
If I was a voter, I would drop them into my polls, but I wouldn't be dramatic about it. We'll find more out about them, obviously, in a couple of weeks. But I expected them to be more explosive, but I will have to say this. One of the few things, excuse me, my allergies are bad. And people are like, why do you keep wiping your eyes?
Emotional.
Exactly. It was an emotional weekend. But the thing I'll say about this that made me laugh, watching game day Saturday morning, I already have a skull ripper and ready to, get the hair of the dog that bit you kind of thing going on. Right. And I had to rewind to make sure I heard what I heard because I was in the kitchen. You know what I mean? How you're messing around, you hear it in the background, like, they didn't just say what they just said. And they're talking about upset alert and teams that could be watch out. And they get on this bandwagon of how Willie Taggart is going to go in and shock the world and beat the Gators. Like, well, if he does, first of all, where the hell was that when he was in Tallahassee? And second of all, oh, please. There's no way on God's green earth Willie Taggart's going to beat the Florida Gators, especially with that roster at FAU.
Yeah. Like I said, as poor as we were in the red zone in the first half, they're still when they were on offense, their two touchdowns came against second and third stringers towards the end, and they were helped by some undisciplined decisions by some Florida defenders that aren't probably going to play in a couple weeks when real teams come through. But yeah, you're right. I heard about that. I wasn't watching, but I think it was Desmond Howard maybe that
it was. It was Howard. And what got me the most was that no one said, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing I like about our show is that we have several contributors. We're not scared to go, what are you, an idiot?
Right.
But they're all like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, Desmond Howard needs that guy.
Yeah. It's like Herb Street. I'm not expecting Corsa because Corsa at this point is just a puppet, right? But Herb Street, what are you doing, man? You're over there agreeing to this? Like, come on, dude. Sack up. But I was just happy he didn't cry on air. So, anyways, looking forward to this weekend. What are you looking at for your Gators this weekend?
Well, what I'd like to see is us to kind of open it up on offense a little bit, work a little bit more on the passing game, especially downfield. People were kind of complaining the receivers didn't get a lot of separation last week, but really none of our plays were designed for Emory to hang in the pocket and wait for these receivers to do double moves or anything too complicated. His passes were mostly wide receiver screens. We didn't give any looks to the tight ends, and I know we're missing Kyle Pitts, but Zipper and some of the other guys are, have potential to be pretty good too. Not to that level, but decent. So I think we'll get the ball to the tight ends a little bit more. Otherwise, they might burn down the tight end room at UF. So we'll get the ball to them a little bit. Still want to run the ball well, but like I said, USF is. I can't tell you honestly how bad USF is. Like I went to Orlando last Thursday and I was driving back and listening to the USF NC State game and NC State's feed, and they were kind of going on and on about what a rebuild job that is. And I DVR'd it and watched a little bit of it. And I'm like, I'm not learning anything from this other than USF's even worse than I thought they were. And NC State might be a decent team in the ACC as well. They're probably top 2 or 3 in their division. But really just take care of business. We're only playing down there because it's a 2-for-1. So USF will come to Gainesville twice and Florida will go to Tampa once. And it's good for the fans over there. It's not good for me. I'd rather be at home, but we're not driving all the way to Tampa to sit in, 115-degree heat at Raymond James where there's no shade.
Why in the hell are they playing so early in September in Florida? I couldn't get that.
Yeah, that's the only open weekends other than the weekend before or 2 weeks before FSU when we play Samford, but I guess that didn't work with USF.
No, I mean, like, why that time of day?
TV dictates everything. So,
is there a
Britney, at night we might have thought about
Britney Spears concert gonna hit there now that she can, make her own money.
It's a 1 p.m. start time, which is a little different. And that's just because they're doing obviously a lot of coverage for 9/11 that morning. So
right.
Kickoffs at 1.
I got the weird time. I got that part.
Feels like the 80s.
But so early. It's like, my God.
I've been to that stadium plenty for like Outback Bowl and stuff like that when it's in January and it's at 11:30, 12 o'clock kickoff, and it's unbearable there. There's no shade, at least in these college stadiums. You can find some shade if you're not sitting in it. In Gainesville, we're lucky enough to be in the shade most of the time, but and that drive to Tampa from here is awful. So we'll watch it on TV, but it is weird. And it's funny, SEC in SEC play this weekend, South Carolina's playing at East Carolina, which you don't see too often. So a couple of these games this year where SEC teams are going to the directional school to play there versus them coming to Gainesville.
All right. So assuming that's just going to be an outline blowout, let's get into some of the other college football action this week. And I think you have to start off with number 1 with the Bullet because it's a big game for both conferences, not to mention both teams. Oregon travels to Ohio State, and they're now a 14.5-point underdog, which I find I can't run to the window fast enough for this. I think this is going to be a hard-fought football game. I do give Ohio State a slight edge since they are the home team and it's an early kickoff. So you know how I believe in that West Coast, East Coast thing, but this should be a really good football game. I almost have to throw out the first thing that I see in the first weekend when you see all these teams go out and play. If you see them play sluggish, I have to put it out because they don't get a preseason. So they don't get to get all the rust knocked off. But are you hyped for this game?
Yeah, I am. I wish this one was at night. Or at least not up against the Florida game. But yeah, I am actually. I don't know if I'm ready to pick Oregon to win. We might find that out tomorrow morning, but it's an awesome game. I mean, I mentioned Oregon a few weeks ago in my kind of sleeper picks as far as the playoff goes. I don't see them getting there, but if there is a Pac-10 team that gets there, it's going to be Oregon. Lord knows it's not going to be Washington now. But I think there's a house full of Oregon fans in our neighborhood, and I was talking to one of them yesterday, and they were just, they felt like they played sluggish. I said, well, you're not working. They're a lot like Florida. You're not working all offseason to play FAU and USF, and they're not working all offseason, to play who they played last weekend. They're working towards this Ohio State game, and when it's week 2 or week 3, it's different than being week 5 or week 6 where you got a bunch of other teams in front of them. So I think Cristobal and Oregon, I think they'll have them ready. I think they'll play well. It's Oregon's always the fastest show on turf, and Columbus has turf. So I think they'll give Ohio State everything they can handle. Hopefully they go up there and pull out a win.
Yeah, obviously on the Dixie Football Nation show that we'll do tomorrow morning, which by the way, y'all, it is a new time. We're starting a little later. I heard everyone's cries, especially Tony's, having to get up at the crack of dawn.
4 a.m. I got to prep for that show. So,
8:30, just like the typical show, just to keep it easy, and then we'll go from there. But so I'm not ready to just stand on it and say, hey, this is my pick, but I'm liking Oregon a lot. I really am. I can't get to the window fast enough because I think it's going to be a hard fought football game. I might be wrong, but when we were doing all these breakdowns earlier in the summer, Oregon had so much coming back. I would just be shocked if they're not ready for this ball game.
Yeah.
And other games of note, and it is nice to see that there are some good football games on this weekend that we don't see, because I know some years we have just nothing. But before we get to some good football games, here's a game that I think could be sneaky. The Miami Hurricanes have got to come back and show that they're back. They're the U, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
They're a 9-point favorite at home against Appalachian State. That could be a tricky game. And Appalachian State, we all know they have the taste for the upset. Do you expect Miami to go out there and just blow their doors off after what you saw last Saturday against Alabama?
Yeah, not at all. I mean, I think it's a struggle for Miami. It's the opposite of what we were just talking about a few minutes ago, where they have played in that game where they worked all off season for and circled and did reps on different numbers at Alabama and stuff like that. Like, this is the ultimate, coming out of Atlanta, getting blown out of the stadium. But even if they had won, this was a tough rebound game for them. So yeah, I'm with you. I think the door's open for Appalachian State to make some noise. And if you're Miami and you think you're mature enough, this is the kind of game that you go out and you take care of business, because there's obviously a lot left in the season. If you're Miami, you compete for the ACC championship, all that kind of stuff, and maybe even try and sneak in, because that loss to Bama is not a death knell if the right other people lose. But I'm with you. Like, if Miami is indeed back, like, go in this game and do it with ease. If you lose this one, then you're right back at square one.
Yeah, and with teams like North Carolina losing in your own division, in conference, in division, that does open the door for you a little bit. And I think that's going to be a hell of a race out there in the coastal division when you got Miami. I'm still not counting out North Carolina. I really chalked that up to, it was the first game of the season, and it was on the road, and it was terribly stupid to play a division game on the road first game of the season. But Virginia Tech obviously they have a good team. I think that division is going to be closer than what a lot of people thought at the very beginning, but I'm still going with North Carolina to get to the ACC title game. And after seeing what I saw from Clemson, I'm still going hard, man. I still have North Carolina winning the ACC. Clemson's offense looked putrid.
Yeah.
And
their line hasn't looked the same in the last couple of years either. Like, their offensive line was probably one of the most underrated units in college football for a few years. And they've really struggled to replace those guys. And that quarterback, if he's not going to be a willing runner and he's going to decide to be a pocket guy, that line's got to protect him much, much better.
Yeah, well, especially with they don't get. First of all, there wasn't an offensive score in that game. Yeah. So I thought it was a little odd that Georgia jumped up to number 2. I'm sorry. I know they beat Clemson. That wasn't an impressive game by either team. Georgia they got the big play on defense, and they basically ran down the clock after that. I mean, that was one of the most uninspiring games to start off the season with 2 top 5 teams that I can remember in my lifetime. So, other games on the docket. What are you excited about this weekend for college football?
I think, honestly, I think that an underrated game, we'll talk about tomorrow, obviously, because it's Tennessee, but Tennessee and Pitt's going to be a good game. I think, I almost think Pitt might go out there and pull the upset. They've got a great quarterback. I think Tennessee, that was another one of those kind of first game jitters things. I think Joe Milton's a better quarterback than how he looked last Thursday. I think he'll kind of get a little bit more comfortable headed into week 2. Utah BYU will be a good game. There's people complain I don't need like 15 good games in a college football weekend. Like, just give me one or 2 games at each like time slot,
right?
And we'll be good to go. Iowa State will be really good. I was shocked that I wasn't shocked that Iowa won the game. I was shocked that Iowa had absolutely no problem with Indiana last weekend.
Yeah,
That was an eye opener.
I'm hoping they turn it around so I don't look like a total buffoon. But I had Indiana in an upset to win the Big Ten because everything they had coming back, and they were getting Penix Junior back under center. They got their doors blown off. And I went back and watched the recap, and it wasn't like, oh, well, they had some bad turnovers. No, they just got worn out. So that shocked me. And Iowa State no longer is a gimme this weekend. I thought when we got to that game in week 2 that it would be Iowa State by 2 to 3 scores. And I think it's going to be a nail biter now.
Yeah. It's funny. Iowa's like notoriously bad in September. That's when they typically lose to like a Northern Iowa or some MAC team or something like that. And they just blasted Indiana. Alabama and Auburn play, but it's Alabama State, which is a little different. Big rivalry there. But yeah, I mean, I think I hit on most of UAB. Georgia is interesting only because, like I said, UAB's one of them and FAU may win the Sun Belt, but Georgia, kind of keep an eye on that. JT Daniels, they think he might not play or might be limited, and you'll see Jacksonville native Carson Beck possibly playing.
A&M at Colorado has my eye. I'm really interested in that one, and then the other one that's kind of under the radar, but it's just because are they as good as they looked in week 1? It's Kentucky hosting Missouri.
Are we going to
is that offense going to be rolling again? So I'm really interested in that one.
Yeah, Levis, I watched a good amount of that game. Levis looked really good. I mean, he's smooth. I was a little surprised that maybe I wanted to know who he beat at Penn State, because it's not like Penn State's quarterback looked all that impressive against Wisconsin. But Levis looked great. There's a great deep ball, good delivery. That's a big one, though. That's one of those because I think Drinkowitz at Missouri is a really good coach. But that's one of those where the winners, somewhat for real, and they've got a chance to upset some teams possibly in the East. I'm always worried about Missouri, obviously on our schedule, especially this year. It's in November out there, and Kentucky's kind of a trendy upset pick for Florida this year. But like Georgia and Tennessee have to play Kentucky and Missouri too, so it's not like we're the only ones that really have to deal with them. So, but yeah, I'll be watching that one. That'll be a good one. But yeah, it's a good slate this weekend. I think maybe this weekend's flying under the radar for Gator fans just because obviously we have Alabama next week and Penn State plays Auburn, and there's a few
Tennessee though. I am very intrigued to see that game because first of all, see what Tennessee really has, and as far as Pittsburgh goes, if they can get that W, they can get some momentum going into ACC play, and maybe they could be a under the radar team that could. They got a 7-8 year senior quarterback playing over there. So,
Texas, Arkansas is a cool one for history purposes. Good to see them playing again.
Yes, and obviously we'll get them more in the future. Anything going on in the world of golf before we have to take off?
Patrick Cantlay wins the FedEx last week. Not a lot of drama there, really. It was either going to be him or John Rahm. They both had such a big lead in FedEx points, and then they show it via stroke play over the weekend. The rest of the Ryder Cup team was announced. No huge surprises except for Patrick Reed not being on there. And I think that's more of a testimony of he's had pneumonia for like 5 weeks. He came back, played the Tour Championship, didn't really look like he was in his groove. So there's 2 guys that have injury concerns, Koepka with his wrist, and I think his knee's okay, but I think now it's the wrist. And Morikawa's having some back issues. So if those 2 names come off, you might see Reed and Kevin Na get added. But that's one of my favorite golf events of the year. It's unfortunately it's during football season, but it's Florida Tennessee weekend. But everything will kind of come to a head that Sunday during singles match play. But that's a fun event. That's really what the last thing to look forward to really this year in golf until things get going after the new year. There's still tournaments, but nothing really that jumps out until the new year once the Ryder Cup's done. But Ryder Cup's great, but we'll see what happens.
All right, brother. Well, we will see you tomorrow morning, 8:30 Eastern, and have a great rest of your day.
You got it, man. Enjoy.
Yes, sir. We're going to be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks as Justin Waller's joining us. I'm having some technical difficulties. I don't know why I cannot pull up. Well, I'm not having technical difficulties. Zoom is having technical difficulties. I had my thing ready to play, so I don't know where in the hell it is and why we can't pull it up, but I'm going to try something real quick and see if that works. And then if it doesn't, we will go from there. But let me see here. What is this thing? Really don't know. I sincerely apologize. Zoom is screwing up at a massive level right now. So normally we would be playing the clip, but it will not share it. Because it will not share it, I am kind of up Poops Creek. So we're gonna play a real quick commercial, and then we'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Mr. Money, will you please escort Mr. Washington off the court? Take him down the block. And if this dreadlock bumper
Things that all Southerners can agree on. Part 4.
If you marry somebody from outside the region, don't let them plan their wedding on a fall Saturday. They don't know no better. Florida is not the only state down here with beaches. You'll have a lot of fun for a little bit of money as soon as you figure this out. I don't know what y'all heard, but white people in the deep South, they can cook. Especially if they got like 2 first names. Jim Bob, Billy Ray, Joe Jack. Y'all don't want none of that smoke. Canned meat ain't never hurt nobody. You just started making a little money and forgot who raised you. We don't really know the origin, but finna is an actual word and is very useful. Good steak don't need no sauce, bro. Y'all be easy. I'm finna go book another trip to the beach.
Armchair.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Let's go out west and see what the guys in the desert are laying on the numbers for this football weekend. Starting tonight, the Kansas Jayhawks are getting 26.5 points. They're at Coastal Carolina. The Chanticleers over under 53. And the UTEP Miners, Boise State Broncos. That game's at 9:30. UTEP getting 26. The over under is 57. Saturday morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Make sure to catch the Armchair Quarterbacks, Dixie Football Nation, right here on our YouTube channel. And all the action gets rolling at noon Eastern. The Oregon Ducks are now getting 14.5 against the Ohio State Buckeyes. That over under is 64. The Pitt Panthers -3 in Knoxville against the Volunteers. 56.5 is the number. South Carolina Gamecocks -2 in East Carolina. That game is also at noon, along with the Minnesota Gophers hosting the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. The over-under is 53.5. 1 o'clock Eastern, Florida and South Florida square off in Tampa. The Gators giving up 28.5. 58.5 is the over-under. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights -2.5 in Syracuse against the Orangemen. 52 is the number. Middle Tennessee State +20.5 at Virginia Tech. 54.5 is the over-under. Fighting Irish and Notre Dame, they're at home at 2:30 Eastern. They'll try not to overlook the Toledo Rockets. They're giving up 17.5. 55.5 is the over. Hunker down, you hairy dogs, at 3:30 Eastern. Georgia -24.5 at home against the UAB Blazers. Texas A&M, the Aggies are in Colorado, giving up 17 to the Buffaloes. Kickoff is at 3:30. The big one of the day at 4:30 Eastern. The Iowa Hawkeyes getting 4 against the Iowa State Cyclones. 46 is the over-under. NC State -1.5 at Mississippi State. At 7 o'clock Eastern, a rivalry is reborn. The Texas Longhorns are in Arkansas to face the Razorbacks. +7 is the line to the SEC underdogs. The over-under is 56.5. And the Missouri Tigers are getting 5.5 in Lexington against the Kentucky Wildcats. 56 is the line. The North Carolina Tar Heels, they'll try to rebound from their opening week loss. They're a 26-point favorite against the Georgia State Panthers. And at 8 o'clock Eastern, in the Big House, the Washington Huskies are getting 7 points as they travel from Pac-12 country to Big Ten country against the Michigan Wolverines. It's a 48.5 over-under. The Vanderbilt Commodores are getting 7 at Colorado State. And also on the late tilts, BYU is a 7-point underdog at home against the Utes. And the Stanford Cardinal, they are in Los Angeles to take on the men of Troy. The USC Trojans are 17-point favorites. 53.5 is the over-under. As you get your Sunday rolling, make sure to tune in to the Handicappers on the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel, 10 a.m. Eastern. We talk the lines, your fantasy football, year-long, and DFS. And this is what the lines will look like as your Sunday morning gets rolling. 1 o'clock Eastern, week 1 gets going in earnest with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a 6.5-point underdog in Buffalo to the Bills. 48 is the over-under. Jacksonville Jaguars -3 at the Texans. 45.5 is the number. And the Chargers are getting 1 at the Washington football team. 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff. West Coast goes East Coast. 44.5 is the over-under. Seattle -3. They are the favorites in Indianapolis to take on Carson Wentz and the Colts. 48.5 is the number. The Minnesota Vikings, they're a 3-point favorite in Cincinnati, with the 47 being the over-under number. Looking at the San Francisco 49ers, they're giving up 9.5 points on the road in Detroit. It's a 45 is the over-under. The 4 o'clock action looks like this. Jets are at the Panthers, and the Jets are getting 4. Cardinals, they are at the Tennessee Titans -3. Tennessee, Arizona, 52.5 is the over-under. The number in Atlanta is 48.5 as the Eagles are getting 3 against the Falcons. And the Browns +6.5 at Kansas City, with the 54.5 being the number. The Dolphins and the Patriots, New England, a 3-point favorite with 43.5. Denver -3 at the New York Giants. 4:25 kickoff. 41.5 is the number. And the number in New Orleans, no, it's in Jacksonville, but New Orleans is considered the home team. The Saints are getting 4 points on what is considered their home field against the Green Bay Packers, with 49.5. Expected shootout is the over-under. And Sunday Night Football, the Rams give up 9 at home against the Andy Dalton-led Bears. 46.5 is the over-under. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
But what the hell, boy?
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Good morning.
Armchair. YouTube Live.
CBS Sports
Radio station.
The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station? It's everything.
I like everything. It's always on my radio. We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. The Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning, Mr. Justin Waller.
Good morning. I don't know much, but I know one thing. Whoever decided it was a good idea to shove pumpkin spice inside a ravioli did the Italian cuisine a disservice, and you should resign immediately. You're not a chef. You're a barista. That's all I got to say about that, and I can't hear my co-host.
Hi, I'm Mac McGee. I don't know much, but I know one thing. I'm going to try to pull it together after. And I knew this was coming, and I still couldn't. when you sent me the picture, Justin.
It almost caused a divorce, Mac. You don't shove pumpkin in ravioli. And if I see it on a pizza, just watch out. I'm going ballistic. It's on.
That'll be the next thing. It'll be pumpkin spice pineapple on your pizza. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Well, the season's finally here, and the players hit the field, and every man feels like a boy, and every wife could kill. He's been buying beer since August, running hot, running cold, and 30 friends are on alert. That's all the dental hold. 'Cause he's the armchair.
Hey, howdy, hi, top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. Mac McGee sitting alongside Justin Waller. Justin, how are you this morning?
Doing good, Mike. All right, we're crackling up again.
We are crackling up again?
Yes, sir. It just doesn't like our intro music.
Are we doing a little better now?
Negative.
All right. You can take it from here and I'll fix something.
Gotcha. Doing good, Mike. Excited for the weekend. We got week 2 college football. Last night we had an amazing game in the NFL kicking off. We got the first slate of that staring at us this weekend. Just really excited to get into it and talk about it. We bring back our six pack to go today. So looking forward to see where your mind's at early in the season. I know neither one of us have done it in a while, so curious to see it.
I'm feeling a little better now, right?
Not for me.
No, I'm sure it's not. Keep taking it. I don't know what's going on.
Gotcha. Well, we will start off with our. I'll work into my predictions since we don't have this laid out. I know that's where we were going today, and just kind of round them out, give you my predictions. I'll jot them down so you don't have to keep up with them and just jump in whenever you're ready. But we'll start over in the NFC side, and we'll get back around to the AFC hopefully when you can come back to us. But starting in the East, especially after we saw last night with the Cowboys, expect that offense. Dak looked good coming off the injury. Had 400 yards, I think 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, looked very well there. So that division top to bottom, I think, is much improved. But I definitely think it's between the Cowboys and the football team. So I've seen the Cowboys play one this year, haven't watched them. I'll lean Cowboys now just because of where we are in the season. It doesn't change my predictions at the end of the year. Out of the North, it's quite simply the Aaron Rodgers show. What happens in that situation and what door gets opened up for the upcoming Bears or the Vikings sitting there to pounce if that team annihilates itself. But until that happens, I'm going to lean Packers. And I kind of went out of order there and skipped the South, but we'll come to it.
I'm back. I'm hoping this is
yeah, that's great. Well, glad to have you. I'm struggling here, buddy.
I'm just gonna have to give up on any kind of. I thought I'd all right. I give up, man. I give up. I swear. I don't know if it's my equipment that's breaking down or if it's got something to do with the applications we're using. But I've got to give up on doing what we want to do on intros. So fair enough. Back to the rest of the story. Where did you start out with the East?
NFC East and NFC North. You want to catch up? We'll start with those. We'll go back to the East.
Real quick, just tell me who you had. Oh hell, I don't have the thing in front of me because I panicked after you told me. I'll just jot them as we go. I'm gonna try to do mine off of memory because I was planning on having it in front of me. So you took the East. Who did you take?
I'm gonna lean Cowboys.
Okay, I took Washington.
They're my 1B.
Although I was very impressed with Dallas, and I'm going to regret not putting them in my playoffs, but I can't go backwards now. But I was impressed with Dallas. Their defense still needs massive improvement, but their offense is phenomenal. Who did you go after that?
And just to be fair to you, you can change mine to Washington football team because had I not seen that game last night, they were my pick as well. But we had a Friday morning.
No, that's fine. I mean, you know, if I was that worried about it, I would have had you text it to me or whatever. Hell, Doug's going to have the entire weekend before he makes his pick. So you're not getting that big of a because I'm pretty sure you're going to take Tampa Bay to win the South, right?
Pretty sure you're wrong.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. Where did you go after Dallas? Did you go to the South or did you go to the North or what?
We went to the North. I skipped the
Okay.
South.
Well,
and I think it's the Packers show. Until they dismantle that team and Adams or Rodgers leaves, I don't see any reason that that's going to change.
No one has picked otherwise. No one has even given a decent argument on why it may not happen.
There's no line available on certain sites. I mean, what does that tell you?
I will say what was cool last night. Forbes is out in Vegas, and he said, "Hey, for your birthday, I'm gonna let you pick. Do you want a futures bet on the Titans? You want the division, or you want the whole shambango?" I was like, "Well, I'd like to put the whole shambango, but let's just play it safe." And so he's putting a futures bet down for me for the Titans to win the division, which I think is a pretty safe bet. But I wanted to say, give me the whole thing, you know what I mean? But then I'd be sitting there bumming. I'm like, man, I could have had X amount of money, and now I got nothing. So you got Dallas, you got Green Bay, and where are you going with the South? It's intriguing.
I'm gonna take my side girl.
Oh,
Carolina. My Carolina Panthers. I think Sam Darnold gets out from under the Gase system, and he comes in, and Ryan Tannehill's the NFC South. And I just think that the Tampa Bay run has to come in. It's unlikely to put together a dream team like that. You've seen it in sports throughout the history of it, and very rarely do dream teams win it, and very rarely do NFL teams go back-to-back. Now, granted, Tom Brady has already done it once. I just don't feel that's going to happen. There's going to be setbacks this season. You've got an extra game in there, and they both play in a weak division. Everybody's on a central rebuild, minus Tampa Bay, the defending world champions. So again, I don't know why I didn't pick them, other than I went straight with the side girl. I'm going Carolina Panthers.
So that surprises me. Well, not really, because you're a Panthers fan, but I man, pick against that Tampa Bay team. I
got Tampa Bay winning the wild card, though. I mean, they're going to be right there. I think I think the NFC South will be a closer division. It will not be a run.
You got me so flustered. I'm trying to remember my team now.
You remember it's Jameis Winston. You picked the Saints because Florida State guys not in the quarterback.
No, but I did put Jameis Winston in the playoffs. I gave them as my underdog wild card. I took the Saints there. Now I took Tampa. I mean, I can't go against Tampa.
I mean, I can't argue that. It's a stupid take.
NFC West. I'm interested to see NFC West because I have a plethora of answers. So I'm interested to see what you say with the NFC West.
I really want to lean Seattle. I mean, I really do, but something tells me Matthew Stafford in Los Angeles is about to open up that offense like we've never seen. And I think that defense will stay off the field and be fresh, and it's just going to annihilate its opponents. I'm leaning Rams.
That's who I went with. I was very tempted to take San Fran, but when Sean and I did this on Wednesday, that was the last division we did. Okay. So we went AFC first and then NFC. And so we get to the NFC West. We had picked every single division the same. I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. We got to have one variance. So I went ahead and took the Rams, but I did put San Fran in as the wild card. Seattle, he put Seattle in, and I mean, I hate leaving him out, but I'm like, man, you take three teams to put in the freaking playoffs, and what are we talking about? But that division's so good. I just wonder what their records are going to be, and can they get a third wild card? Of course, we've got three wild card, or sorry, a second wild card. We've got three wild cards in both conferences. So, who are your wild cards in the NFC?
Washington, Tampa Bay, and I'm going to lean Seahawks.
Okay. I hope you're right, because I think we're both like this. We just kind of pull for the Seahawks just because they're fun to watch. You know, I've been a Russell Wilson homer and I don't even know why I like Russell Wilson. I can't put anything on it. He's never played for a team that I liked. He doesn't even play in a region that I like. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, maybe that's NC State, I guess, but he wasn't that good then. It was when he got to, I think, you know what it has to be? It's got to be the fact that he's a baseball guy. It's got to be what it is. The fact that I knew, and the fact that he slides. When he does his quarterback slide, he looks like he's going into second base off of an easy double off the wall.
That's a little for me as well. And then the NC State ties back when he was there really kind of tied it home and solidified it. So I'm not going to lie. I like the uniforms. I don't like the neon greens. I think that's too much. I didn't like the color rush, but I mean, name a team who did like the color rush. There's not many.
Right. Hopefully we've gotten past that debacle. AFC, where are we going in the East?
Well, list here. I'm going to go Buffalo.
I think that's the popular opinion. I did go ahead and go Patriots, but that's because
I think they could compete for it, and I think
I'm drinking the Mac Jones Kool-Aid right now. We'll see what happens after week 1. I'm like, I've made a terrible mistake, but I'm drinking the Mac Jones Kool-Aid is essentially.
I can't argue that.
He's he's Brady 2.0 at this point in his career. He's actually a little more polished and a little more advanced at this point, but they remind me so much of each other that it's hard not to pull for him. And then of course, I know I've told you a million times he's from our neighborhood of Mandarin and Jacksonville, so there's that going on too. I know he played at Alabama, but he just seems like a good guy, and I can separate that now that he's gone. It took me a minute, but when Tebow left UF, I got to where I could pull for him. Not in baseball, because I never wanted to have to wear that jersey, but everything else I pulled for Tebow.
I've pulled for a Gator before, Javon Curse. I'll admit to it as well.
When he's on your team, when he's
on your team,
that's totally different. But when I'm saying just honestly pull for a Hurricane or a Gator, that's kind of out of my range. But I mean, I'm sure you know what? I actually liked Ray Lewis. Even though we're not sure what he did on that night in question in that limo. So I think I like Ray Lewis, but I'm not sure I like Ray Lewis, but I liked him as a player. So I actually pulled for him towards the end of his career to get that last ring.
I'm not going to comment. I don't want to become a statistic.
Right. Exactly. I don't know where we might be in the future. A few years from now, we're covering the Super Bowl and we step into the wrong limo. Where are you going with I guess we'll go north next. Where are you going with the north?
Man, I'm going to shock everybody, I think, but I'm going to roll Cincinnati.
Wow. To win the division?
Why not?
Wow.
Why not?
Wow. Somewhere.
I don't know if Baltimore is going to have a quarterback on the field. I don't know if Cleveland's going to not self-implode and go all Browns about it. But I think the Bengals with a healthy Joe Burrow, and if they can keep that roster healthy, I see no reason they can't compete for that division.
Wow. Somewhere Brian is jumping up and down. Cincinnati wins that division. That would be a game changer. I would have to give you credit on that one. If they pull that off, I will say this: Baltimore's injuries. I mean, you're eventually you can't lose every running back in your entire roster and your entire organization. Be okay. We'll be fine. You can't re-sign the Le'Veon Bells and the Devontae Freemans and have basically the 2014 All-Star team out there and not at the running back position, right? Those guys don't age like fine wine. They're not left tackles, right? They're going to be in some problems. If you got Lamar Jackson on your fantasy team, you're probably doing handstands because it should be the Lamar Jackson show, but will he get keyed on too? So I took Cleveland. I have a hard time seeing Cleveland not being the best. They look like one of the best teams in football when the season ended last year. And I believe in Baker. I believe his maturity's there. Like we haven't even heard anything this offseason about the Browns, right? Like they haven't had the mic all in his face and all that kind of stuff. And to me, that's just a sign that he's growing up. And then all the time, and they get OBJ back. We'll see what he's got. It might be a half a season before OBJ is relevant, but that's why I went with Cleveland. Who you got in the South?
I mean, did you even need to ask?
No.
I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Urban Meyer's going to figure out the National Football League in just 12 short weeks. The AFC West, where are we going?
No brainer as well. I'll go Kansas City Chiefs. I've already used all my stupid picks up.
And your wild card?
Well, I'm going to go get the Browns, the Colts, and
the Colts.
I think the Patriots will be the other one.
Okay. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head who I took for divisions. I know I had the Bills in there, and I had Baltimore in there. Oh, and then my sleeper cell was Denver. I got the Denver Broncos sneaking in. I always do one in each conference. And I like, not fantasy wise, but I like what Teddy Bridgewater will do with that team. It'll be a boring style of football, but with that defense, I think they can hang around there. And I really don't think the Raiders are going to be very good. And I still think Justin Herbert's got a lot of growing up to do. So they've got some advantages in. Now, with that being said, I expect them to lose this weekend at the Giants because it's West Coast, East Coast, baby. And that is a perfect transition here in a second to our 6-pack to go is coming back, but we're going to get who are your AFC and NFC conference games, and then who's your Super Bowl?
I'm gonna go Bucks, Packers.
Okay.
I want to put this
Solid.
on the boys, but I'm gonna do it. All right. Titans, Chiefs.
Titans, Kansas City, a rematch. And who wins those, and who wins the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl is Titans, Green Bay, and I'm not answering. You know where I'm going on that. Don't make me say it. I mean, I think this is the year that offense actually gets there. I think, you know, my personal opinions. I don't need to loathe about my love affairs for the Titans this season and that offense. Nobody wants to hear that mess, but I think they actually have a higher power offense that can compete with the best of the best this year. And that hasn't been the case. We've always struggled for that outside performance, and it made the performance of Henry magnified even more what he's pulled off. Now this year, I don't think you can cheat a defense one way or another and stop that offense.
So I took the Tennessee Titans to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. And so we've basically put the kiss of death on them. But
no, I didn't say it.
What I basically was getting at is this. First of all, I think it's very, very difficult to go back to back in Super Bowls. So putting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, if that actually happens, Tennessee probably won't beat Tom Brady. But I was kind of hedging my bets that I would have at least one of the representatives. But I believe Tennessee, if there's a year that's set up for them, it's this year. When you look at the schedule, you look at the division, they should win the division by a few games. So they should be rested for the playoffs. This is assuming no injuries. And I just think that's going to be a difficult team to knock out if they're healthy, and you've got the Tannehills and Julio, and then of course what they added on defense, and then let's not forget that, oh, by the way, AJ Brown and Derrick Henry are still roaming around back there. I like some of the other additions that they made to the offense as well. Anxious to see what what Van Jefferson can do, and the defense. I think the defense will be much improved.
I think it will be very much improved.
They don't have to be the Washington football team defense. They've just got to be better than what they were, and I think they'll be much improved. And that'll be. Can we get pressure on the quarterback? Will be the number one question.
That is the number one thing. Have you installed pass rush, which I feel they have? I think the depth is there. There's a lot of key pieces and injuries you're getting back. Plus, you're getting your offensive line. But, the secondary, everybody was god awful in some games. But when you allow elite NFL quarterbacks unlimited time in the pocket, of course they're going to find a window. The game is set up for the offense to do that. So, you can't leave your secondary back there in no man's land. So it hinges on that pass rush, and I feel they have it.
All right, let's go ahead and get in our 6-pack to go, sir. We'll start this off. I'll give you the first pick. Where are you going in the world of football picks? We do this every Friday. He takes 3 and I take 3 before Justin has to jam out of here. What is your first pick in college or pro?
I'm gonna make it simple for you. I'm going college with all 3 of mine.
Okay.
I'm gonna take the over under in the Pitt Tennessee game. Screenshot it this morning. We were at 56.5. I will take that.
Are you taking the over or the
over? I'm sorry, the over 56.5. I think this is a high scoring game. It could get ugly and Tennessee gets boat race, but I don't see, I think both teams put up 30 or right there at it. So I think 60 is cracked in this game.
Okay. My number one is I'm going to take it's same time as the kickoff as the Tennessee game. I'm really excited for noon kickoff this week. It's not normally like that. You've got Pittsburgh and Tennessee playing in Knoxville, and you've got Oregon going into Columbus. Oregon's getting 14.5. And to me, that's just too much. Oregon's a good football team. I think they've got a decent, if you want a decent little chance at a money line hit, I think Oregon's got a solid chance at beating Ohio State. So now with that being said, I didn't watch a lot of college football last weekend because I was all, drunky the monkey walk around in Nashville. But when I'm going off of what we did over the summer and what we read about over the summer, not what happened on the field last Saturday, because the first game of the season, I can always scratch up to, hey, it's rust. It's trying to get everyone on the same page. Oregon's getting 14.5, and that's just too much. Give me the Ducks. Where are you going with your second pick?
I am going to go big. I'm going Iowa plus 4.5 versus Iowa State.
That's an interesting one. I'm a little surprised that the spread is that, especially considering what they did.
What they did to Indiana, that one shocked me and jumped out. And I wasn't impressed with Indiana State. They didn't blow their opponent out. It wasn't the performance Iowa had against Indiana. I'll tell you that much.
I am going to go with the Colorado State Rams giving up 7 at home against the terrible Vanderbilt Commodores, and it's a late kickoff. Vanderbilt looked terrible last week, but they scored 3 points. Not that Colorado State's some kind of juggernaut, but I just figure I made up my mind when I watched the highlights of that. I was like, I don't care who Vandy's playing. I'm taking the other team this week. They look like they don't belong. Not in the SEC. They don't look like they belong in Division I football right now.
There's a chancellor in Murfreesboro right now. He's heading down to Birmingham, talk to Greg Sankey and be like, hey, man, you want to do a little swapperoo? You're putting middle in and you're pulling Vandy out. Or Memphis. I'm making that same negotiation. Hey, that was an embarrassment. But welcome to the SEC, Clark Lee. But you haven't even met SEC play yet.
I know that I know they keep them in there to keep the prestige and the GPA high. Man, Vanderbilt's not a Power 5 team in anything except baseball. That's the only thing that you can argue is baseball. All their other programs are terrible. I mean, even the once decent Vanderbilt basketball.
Hold on. There's somebody right now screaming at us that they do, I think, have a bowling championship as well. So, make sure we include that.
If bowling is a sport, I'll eat my hat. If you can do it successfully with the beer in your hand, I don't think that's a sport, man. It's fun, but it's not a sport. Yeah. At that point, then, up and down the river is a sport, right? Where are you going with your last pick?
Well, because this is working together here, I'm not going to go money line on this, but I feel like it could be done. I'm taking Arkansas to upset Sarkisian and the Longhorns. I like +7.
Wow.
Sam Pittman gets him his signature win.
I'm glad to see that rivalry reemerge, by the way. Arkansas, Texas. That's something I grew up on as a kid. Mm-hmm. The old Southwestern Conference. And obviously it'll be coming back in full maybe as early as next year, though I still think 2023 is more realistic, but I would love to see them join the SEC by next year, because in this day and time of we want everything now, I would like to see Oklahoma and Texas begin their SEC quest tomorrow morning.
I would too. I want to see the.
I like to see just an announcement later on this afternoon, the Friday news drop. Oh, by the way, my final pick is the Washington football team at home, giving up 1 point. I actually took this several weeks ago when they were getting a point, but they're giving up 1 point at home to the Chargers. That's my West Coast, East Coast. I think Washington's a better football team, and I don't understand why they're underdogs. It's almost like it's too good to be true, and there's a reason why they're suckering me into this, but I got to take that game.
I like the pick.
What is your walk-off for the day, sir?
Don't put pumpkin spice in anything.
Jeez. I mean, it's enough with the putting in the coffee. That right there was sacrilege to me. You put it in beer. What the hell is wrong with
gloss, beer? I mean, you name it, they put it in. There's toothpaste. I mean, did
you actually taste it, by the way?
No, it's still sitting in the fridge. No. I've got things that I will stand up for. And shoving things in ravioli that aren't supposed to be there is one of them things. Cheese in there. I mean, who went pumpkin? Cheese, meat. You couldn't have come up with a better solution. Pumpkin. Just put ice cream in there next time, genius.
All right, brother. We'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend. We'll be back in a flash on the Armchair Quarterbacks. Matt Carr is on the way. He's actually here. Look at him. There he goes. We'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Mr. Money, will you please escort Mr. Washington off the court? Take him down the block. And if this dreadlock bumper ass even blinks wrong, you lullaby his ass.
You just robbed a house. You have all this great stuff that now belongs to you, but you got this annoying pang of guilt nagging at you. Well, worry no more, because your friends at Cell Block Greeting Cards have the answer for you. Introducing our new line of petty crime thank you cards. Before you smash and grab one of our cards and leave it behind on your next heist. Choose from any of these fine heartfelt cards like,
thank you for the plasma TV,
or
thanks for the PlayStation, alcohol, and penny jar.
And
it's the choice of a new generation.
I've been hoodwinked. I've been bamboozled. Left for dead. I've been plagued by refusals.
Good morning. Stupid liver.
Yeah, we were at an Ashley McBride concert last night. It was a lot of wine.
Say that again.
I said Ashley's work had hosted an event last night as Ashley McBride, if you know who that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went and saw her at a little small event, and the drinks were free. So good morning.
Yeah. Ashley McBride. What is she saying?
I think our biggest hit is Room Key.
Maybe I'm just familiar with the name because I'll put Pandora on for my dog.
Right.
Y'all don't at me. But I'll put Pandora on for my dog in our bedroom during the afternoon because she's getting really old. So you know she's struggling, but she's fighting. But I try to put something on back there that will kind of keep her calm, and so it's always on like women's country because it's my wife's station, and so I'll go by and see names like when we went to the Hall of Fame, and at the end, it really is just a promotional thing where they're trying to pump today's stars. It's got like these people don't belong in the Hall of Fame, right? But I noticed a couple of names. My wife was surprised. I said, I've seen it pop up on that Pandora back there. I was like, that's it. I was like, and there was one I and her name's escaping me. I was like, she's actually not bad. I've heard a couple of her songs. I said, but most of it's garbage. Most of the new stuff is just absolute.
As of last night, they announced it there that she had got nominated for Country Female Artist of the Year. So she was good. She was, it was
good for her. But I'm not familiar with who she is.
Yeah.
But I can just say that that's not as impressive if you had gotten nominated for that award 30 years ago in my book, because they're just it's a different brand. I did get to see our boy West play though. That was cool. Dumbfounding to me that he's not bigger than what he is, but the fact that he does what he does for a living and enjoys it, to me, like there's nothing bigger than that,
he came to the house July 5th, like the day after, and I had my Bluetooth speaker outside. I started playing one of his songs just to messing with him because I was inside, he was outside.
I
just kind of saw him looking around. He's like, "That's my song." It was just kind of neat, like a little experience.
Yeah, we used to play them on the show quite a bit to promote them, but then YouTube started flagging us because whatever company is involved with his music, I was like, well, that's the end of that, man. I'll promote you, but not at my own expense. So, yeah, there's a couple of songs. What's your favorite West Cook song?
Man, the Beer Truck is one of my favorite.
That's a good song. Mine is One More Trip Around the Sun. I think that's my favorite one.
It's just good. It's just always neat hearing.
And then of course the patriotic one is just off the charts, but that kind of goes without saying.
I stand for the flag.
Yeah, like that goes without saying. That's a great song, but that to me is on a different level than everything else, just because of what it's about. But I think One More Trip Around the Sun is my favorite. I should have brought that up when I was in there, but I didn't want to go up there. They were asking for requests, and we were about to leave, and I said Waylon, but that's always my go-to. I would have said one of his songs, but I honestly thought we were going to be out of the building before they started singing. And just as I'm walking out, I hear Waylon crank up. So guys, I got to sit here and listen to this. I'm sorry, but y'all go on down the street and do your thing. But Wes is singing Waylon. I got to stop what I'm doing. What's your one pick to click in the football picks this weekend?
My upset? Is that what you're asking?
No, pick against the spread.
Yeah.
Yeah, your one pick to click. So any pick that you got, like you can take a favorite. You don't have to take it up.
I thought we were doing what we did last year. Like, so you get the point.
Well, stupid underdogs are on the weekend.
Gotcha. All right, so I picked the click then. Actually, I'll stick with the same one and you're gonna laugh at me. MTSU over Virginia Tech.
How many points are they getting?
20 points.
20? Okay. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Virginia Tech is infamously known for laying an egg after playing a good game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only been 2 or 3 seasons ago that they lost to ODU right after they had a huge win. And if they can lose to ODU, they can lose to MTSU. It would be great for MTSU because they were not good at all last year. I would love to see them at least be competitive tomorrow.
They were terrible. And
that game's in Murfreesboro, isn't it?
No, it's actually in VTech.
Okay, for some reason I thought it was in the borough.
I think last year I think VTech was supposed to be there last year. They did a home and home, and I think with all the crap last year, it got canceled or something happened.
Okay, that's what happened. All right. No, I like it. I took Oregon State plus the 14.5 and Colorado State to cover against Vandy and Washington football team to win. What was your thoughts being an ex-Cowboy fan? Now you're more of a Titans fan, but you still kind of pull for the Cowboys. What were your thoughts on last night? Because I thought they looked pretty good.
Honestly, I was at that concert. I was watching. I was kind of keeping up with my phone. I was just watching the stats, and I was very surprised that Dak threw for 400 yards against that defense. I got
surprised. I benched him. I only have him a couple leagues, but I was nervous as hell to start him. So I streamed like Tannehill in one league, and I forget who I streamed in the other league. But I was like, man, I can't put him in there against Tampa's defense. Tampa's defense looked pedestrian. I don't think they'll look that way 2 months from now. But I was expecting Dak to show rust because he didn't play or didn't practice much, right?
Right.
I thought he looked phenomenal.
I was keeping up with it, and I saw we didn't have a lot of service where we were at, so I couldn't keep up with the game a lot. But we were going home, and I checked on it, and like Dallas was about to kick a field goal, like a minute and a half left, whatever it was. I was like, man, Dallas is going to win that game. And as soon as they get the field goal, I was like, man, they left a lot of time on the clock. And this is exactly what happened.
They did. That was and conversely, and this is just the veteran leader, veteran all-time GOAT. Brady, when he got the ball down there and they knew there's a 35-yard kick and they got Suckup. And I mean, Suckup's money. We know that from his days at Tennessee.
Right.
They had no timeouts left, so they couldn't screw around and get sacked or something. So instead, what they did is he just dropped back and threw 3 consecutive incomplete passes out of bounds. And he was doing it just to eat up a little bit of clock. It wasn't much clock, but it was enough to where when that field goal went through the uprights, there was only a couple of seconds left in the game.
Right.
And I actually think he got shortchanged because I feel like that they killed the clock the moment the ball was heading in flight. I mean, I feel like you should wait till that ball actually hits the ground before it's technically incomplete, but it is what it is. And they got the W, and Tampa Bay's rolling, and now they're going to have a 10 days to get ready. And Tampa Bay is going to have probably the best record in the NFC, I would think.
I mean, I went chalk already. I thought we were up there a month ago. I thought it was going to be Tampa Bay, Kansas City again. So, yeah, I have no doubt in that.
Who are your division winners?
I mean, I got the Cowboys. I do have the Cowboys winning that division at 12-5. I think I picked.
Who do you have in the NFC North?
Who is that? Who's NFC North?
Do you prepare for anything that I send you? Like what is the point of me even sending you anything? Why don't you just say, screw it, we'll just talk about fart jokes when you get on the air?
It's just good to hear your voice. NFC North. Just give me one team in that division.
The Detroit Lions.
Okay, so Green Bay, obviously.
What about the NFC South?
NFC South is that.
That's where the Falcons are.
Yeah, I want to say New Orleans, I guess, with your buddy Jameis.
All right. Who are you taking in the West? That's where the Cardinals are.
I think that's good. I think that's going to be one of the toughest divisions in football, but I'm going to say Seattle.
All right.
I wanted to say Arizona. I have a lot of faith in Arizona this year. Bobby the Kid does not have any faith in his team, but I think they're going to be rolling this year, man.
I think he's right on the fact that division is the best division in football, and it's going to be difficult to get in the playoffs because of the schedule. But I think they're going to be fun to watch, and they might even upset Tennessee this weekend. But I get why he's like that, but I think he's like me, man. I'm a pessimist when it comes to my teams. I get
that, but I mean, they're just it's gonna be. I believe in that. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, so AFC East, where are you going?
All right,
that's home of the
The Bills, but I think the Dolphins are going to be a fun team to watch this year. It's weird just saying the Patriots nowhere near the top, but I think the Bills win that very easily. But I think the Dolphins will be the most fun team to watch this year.
AFC
In
North.
that AFC North.
Yeah, that's the home of the Bengals and whatnot.
I'm going to go with the I'm going to go with Steelers over the Browns.
Brian just chimed in and said, Matt is still drunk.
I'm not drunk, but I'm not well.
What about the AFC South?
And I think that's just easy this year. I think the Titans are actually built this year, ready to roll, and the rest of the division is just trash.
AFC West?
The Kansas City.
And then who are your wild cards? Remember, there's 3 in each conference this year. So
the wild man. I think the surprise pick this year is going to be the Chargers. I think the Chargers are going to do some. They'll be a good wild card. And probably
two more of the AFC.
Do what?
Give me two more wild cards out of the AFC.
The Browns and the Dolphins, actually.
Okay. And then what about the NFC? 3 wild cards.
Oh, I think you're going to go with the Redskins, the Cardinals, and I guess the Saints.
You just took the Saints to win the division.
Yeah, I know. I'm flipping that. But the Bucs will win the division. The Saints to be the wild card.
Damn it! I was hoping you were going to leave the Bucs out because I was going to say, how are you got the Bucs winning the Super Bowl? All right.
I'll flip it.
I was hoping you were going to skate over that. That's the whole reason why I wasn't giving you the favorites in the division when I was giving you the teams. Okay.
You sent me to fail, sir.
That's what I do. So you've got Tampa Bay versus Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Who's going to be in the AFC Championship game against Kansas City?
Probably, I say Seattle, man. I think Seattle's
in the NFC, so that's going to be very difficult.
You're killing me, Small. Probably the Bills then. I gotta go the Titans. The Titans.
You're killing me. This is supposed to be a football show. You don't know where any of the teams are. And in the NFC, Tampa Bay is going to be playing who?
Seattle.
All right. And then you've got Tampa Bay beating Kansas City or Kansas City beating Tampa Bay?
Yeah, it's hard to get bet against Brady. I think Mahomes is obviously the future of the NFL, but I'm going with Brady until he's done, man.
I took the Tennessee Titans to beat the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And I've actually got New England playing Tennessee in the AFC Championship game. I'm all in on Mac Jones and Belichick. And who the heck did I have in the NFC? It was Tampa Bay versus. Man, I wish I had that thing in front of me because I know I was going to go Washington football team, and I don't think that's who I picked, but it's escape. Oh, I think I went Rams. Tampa Bay. And
Washington's that's gonna be a fun team to watch this year. Just if you like defense, that's gonna be a fun team. And you got Fitzpatrick. They're
my pick to win the division, obviously. And I just think that you only needed a little bit of offense with that defense, and it could be really, really scary. But now it's time for Friday Freak Out. We just start this today, and this is basically built on fantasy football. A lot of it's going to be going into oh my God, what am I going to do this weekend? But it's also got to do with what the hell just happened last night. So we'll start with you, and we'll just start with any team of yours. Are you freaking out about any decision on what's going on this weekend? Or are you freaking about the fact that you went up against someone who has, and name that jackass, like Tom Brady went for 50 points last night?
My big thing, I felt like a jackass. I mean, I always feel like a jackass, but in our live draft we did, I picked Mahomes first as the first quarterback taken, and I got Brady late. And I was like, man, who do I start on that? Because I feel like a jackass if I don't start the guy I picked in the 4th round.
Right.
But then I obviously went with I benched Tom Brady. So yes, that's my
Man, I can't kill you for that though, because I expect that Cleveland Kansas City game to be high scoring. And honestly, I thought the game would be a little lower scoring last night because I didn't think Dallas would score as many points. I thought Dak would be rusty. So what I had picked yesterday was 27-17. I wasn't too far off on what the Bucks had, but I thought at the end of the game they'd be salting it away. So I had never thought in a million years that Tom Brady would have that many yards passing.
Right.
I just figured that but they couldn't get the running game going at all, and that's a concern. That's a concern going forward, and they're going to have to figure out that running game because Ronald Jones, Rojo, he sucked. I mean,
they have 3 mediocre running backs.
They had 4 turnovers last night.
Yeah.
And so Giovanni Bernard might end up being the running back you want to get when it's all said and done, because if they start chucking it all over the place, he's going to be your PPR choice. Now, he didn't do much last night, but I felt like they should have just said to hell with Ronald Jones and had Fournette on the running downs and Bernard on the passing downs and go from there. And then Ronald Jones every once in a while come off the bench as a change of pace. I was very bearish on Jones. I didn't want anything to do with him. I ended up with him in a couple of leagues where it's like later in the draft and he's depth. I didn't start him in any league because I was like, there's no way that I believe.
That's why I shied away from Tampa Bay receivers, honestly. The same kind of, there's just so many.
Same
there's
thing.
so much there.
Now, what was it? Godwin had a good game, but then, and so did Antonio Brown. But then what's going to happen in week 2? Is it going to be Evans' turn to do it? And then, everyone's going to jump on the Gronk train, by the way. And I'm going to tell you right now, he may not catch another touchdown until week 7 or 8.
That's how Brady was in New England. I mean, you couldn't pick a receiver. I mean, Brady would throw for 300 yards a game there, but you couldn't pick a consistent receiver there any year.
I'd say one of the freakouts that most people are going to be having right now is that, oh my God, I went up against Tom Brady. What the hell do I do about that? I went up against Tom Brady in our in the old Crockett's League.
Yeah.
But you can't panic. First of all, it's week 1. If you drop a game, you drop a game. But don't wreck your roster trying to catch points, because you don't know if one of your guys is going to go off, first of all. But second of all, it's only week 1. The guy that I'm going against, he's got a pretty good team, but I'll tell you one thing he's dealing with is that his number 2 pick, Austin Eckler, that's a Friday freakout. Is he going to play? Now, Eckler has been signaling like he's going to play, but then there's beat writers there thinking that he's not going to play. So we'll find out what happens on Sunday. But I would be worried about it right now if I've got Eckler. I got Eckler in a couple of leagues. I've got a backup plan. But your Friday freak out right now today, y'all, has got to be if you drafted Gus Edwards.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, man. That's bad. That's bad.
Yeah. I saw it. I was in line to pick up my daughter yesterday, and I was like, why is everybody picking up Le'Veon Bell? That's what I saw.
Right. Well,
I was like, what the hell is going on? So I finally looked at him. I was like, oh, crap. I have him in like 2 leagues.
Yeah, the news broke, and everyone was, you just have to run around and try and grab. That's going to be a concern going forward. And I don't know if we're going to have an answer on who the main guy in that backfield is after like a month of football. Because Le'Veon Bell looked like a shadow of his former self when he was in Kansas City. Yeah, we're not sure what this Tyson Williams has, right? And then it looks like, did that actually get confirmed? Because I saw it rumored. Let me double check here.
Gurley?
No, they were well, it's just as bad. He did get signed. The Ravens signed Devontae Freeman to their practice.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Gurley's probably on the way. I mean, they are in full-blown panic mode, and they've got like the 2018 All-Star team back there. Gurley still hasn't been signed. But remember, Gurley actually visited Baltimore earlier this summer, so I don't see that being a thing. But essentially, Gus Edwards is done. And it sucks because he was finally going to have a chance to shine. And because of the Dobbins injury, if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, you've got to be freaking out. And then obviously the other freak out I think that would be going on right now. Let me close that stupid thing out. There's a couple of question marks going on across the board. And these aren't necessarily guys that I have big time shares of, but I mentioned Eckler. And the other things that I think is, Brandon Ayuk is banged up a little bit. And what is Saquon Barkley? How many carries is he going to get? Because you're getting 35 different answers about his availability for Sunday.
Yeah, that was my least favorite. That was my least favorite pick I had of any draft I did.
I've got some shares in them, but a lot of it I got it at good value. Like in one of the leagues that I'm in, I traded for Barkley. I traded DK Metcalf for Barkley because I needed a running back and he needed a receiver, and I liked the value of if Barkley's ceiling is very high and so hard to find good running backs. But the other thing is I benched Dak Prescott, and I got to deal with that in week 1. But man, I was the Tampa Bay defense. And I read too many statistics that didn't go with my old saying is if you draft a guy high, let him fly. Right. But he was coming off injury and I was like, man, I can't do it. So now in the league that I'm looking at right now, I think I've got him in only a couple leagues, but in the league that I'm looking at right now, I've got Jameis Winston going to bat for me instead. And, I've only got him in one. No, I've got him in that other league too. That's right. In the, it's a different application. And then in the other league, I streamed Ryan Tannehill because I think that's going to be a high scoring ball game.
I think you're solid with Tannehill, though. I think I want to
solid with Winston because I think they're going to play catch up. I don't know how the Saints will do, but remember when Winston was in Tampa, everyone always scoffed at him and he was always like a top 5, top 10 fantasy quarterback.
Well, I mean, before he got let go by Tampa Bay or whatever it was, he had the most passing yards in the league. So,
but I will be shocked if he outscores Dak Prescott's, and that's the point. What did Prescott hit? 3 touchdowns and 400 yards passing.
Yeah,
man, Green Bay's got a good defense, but there's a strange wild card there. That game's being played in Jacksonville, Florida, because of the hurricane. So,
are you going to that?
No, man, I'm so tired. I can barely crawl to the weekend. If I went to that, I'd be an absolute. I don't like going to ball games like a lot of people do. I like watching at houses and bars and whatnot. It's not the fact of if you could just drop me in there like a bewitched, winkle, 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 with the nose, and I can magically be there.
No work to go with it. I get that.
But man, you have to get out there. You have to fight the traffic. You have to go in there. And then you got to go through the parking lot, blah, 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 blah. By the time you actually get in there, I go to like maybe one game a year. And we've already agreed to go to the Titan Jaguar game later on this season. Yeah. I'm not going to 2, man. And if the only way I would go is if my wife really wanted to go and she's exhausted herself. So I was like, nah, I'm not even going to leave the house this weekend. I'm going to do the shows on Saturday morning and Sunday morning. Programming note for people who are wondering about that. Our college football show comes back tomorrow. We got a load of guys that are going to be there. 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We're going to go till about 10 every Sunday morning Saturday morning, because we got so much content we're going to cover with ACC, SEC, and we're adding Big Ten content to it. And we'll probably also react to some baseball as the playoffs are getting near. And then Sunday morning, it's 10 a.m. to noon. It's no longer 11 a.m. to noon Eastern. So we're going to do Sunday mornings. If you're playing fantasy football or if you are gambling on anything, that's the show for you, because we are going to go heavy. That's all we're talking is the lines, the spreads, and your fantasy. And we're going to do DFS as well. And we've got 5 guys plus me. So we got 6 contributors on Sunday morning. You can kind of choose whose opinion you believe. And once again, we'll do the stardom sit-ems. So you can, I've already seen our inbox blow up, but you can DM me that either on Facebook or on Twitter, either one, and we'll get your stardom sit-ems going. Let's go ahead and turn back time. And then also there will be your best thing to do with this channel is to hit subscribe. And when something new pops up, you'll be alerted if you want to see it, because there's going to be a lot more fantasy football content that we're going to throw in there. Like I did a really quick one last night. But we're going to do ones going into the weekend and college football and betting lines and all that kind of stuff. All right. And we did sign up for a DraftKings and got the bonus. And so we're hoping all that pays out. And then we'll take that. Now that we're down here, all we can do is get the payout.
Right.
And then we're going to transfer that money into my offshores one that we do. So we're already ahead of the game, and we've got 8 or 9 games to go because of all the goofy bonuses that they give you. So it was definitely I can't wait for that to become legal down here, which I'd be shocked if it didn't happen next year. All right. Turn back time. Here we go. On this date in 1950, some guy by the name of Joe DiMaggio becomes the first to hit 3 home runs in Washington's Griffith Stadium. Of course, he ends up becoming an all-timer, World Series champion 7 times over. And then, of course, he's the famous 56-game hitting streak guy. This is the famed, on this date, 1960. So what is that? That's 61 years ago today. This is the famed day of when people say that Mickey Mantle, and I still call BS, but they say that Mickey Mantle hit a 643-foot home run over the right field roof in Detroit, Michigan. I don't know how they measured that back then, but I call horse crap. When in the modern era, 500 feet is considered enormous and almost unbelievable. How the hell? I mean, did it roll down a hill 643 feet? And don't get me wrong, I know Mickey Mantle was a badass, but were they playing on the moon? I mean, how the hell do you 643 feet? Y'all think about that, y'all. The guy hits a home run 643 feet. That's over 2 football fields. Yeah, that's got to be downhill. Birthdays.
It's your birthday today.
We'll go with the dead guy first. Ever heard of some guy by the name of Arnold Palmer, who's born on this date in 1929, 7 major titles, won the Masters 4 times, and of course, the famed Arnold's Army. Also, Roger Maris as well was born on this date. There was something in the water on this date. 1934. Much more impressive than my birthday yesterday. There was like nobody. One day later, man. I could have been something if I could have held out one day later, man. I'm just telling you. What's that?
I said, never would have made it.
I never would have made it. And on this date, 1983, someone by the name of Joey Votto was born. 38 home run. 38 years old. National League MVP in 2010. 6-time Major League All-Star. And obviously having a resurrection of his career. He could be, if he does this a couple more years, y'all, Votto might have righted the ship and could be headed to the Hall of Fame. He'll definitely go to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. He'll definitely be there. But I think he could be headed to the Hall of Fame, and I'd like to see it because seems like a good guy. And I think I've told this story already on air, but that damn video that I saw, I think it was a TikTok earlier this year, where there was a fan trying to heckle him on the on-deck circle. This is before he was really doing well. This is like early in the season. And some fan heckles him on the on-deck circle and says, hey, Joey, I remember when you were good. And Votto turns around and looks at him and goes, what did you just say? And the guy repeats it, and he goes, really? Because I remember when you were thin. What's your walk-off for the day, sir?
Happy belated birthday. It was good seeing you last week. Heading for the anniversary weekend, just going to my hometown, going hiking all weekend. So I got to get past this wine from last night.
What year is this for y'all?
11.
Okay.
We got
So,
married in 2010. So.
and what day did you get
You were
married?
there, man.
Matt, what day did you get married on? Tell everybody.
9/11. Never forget.
Something's so wrong with you. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember that like it was yesterday. Mainly because I time travel a lot, but at your reception, now that was when smartphones were fairly new. And I remember I was one of the few people at the wedding that had a smartphone. We were huddled around during the Oregon
Tennessee
game that we thought was going to be good, but Oregon ended up blowing them out. But that's why the intro today, you might have missed it, but you might want to go back and watch the intro to this hour. The show is almost 2 hours long on Fridays now, but the 8:30 when Justin jumps on, the intro was, I thought I found it and I held it, and I was referring to y'all's wedding where this guy comes on TikTok or whatever it is, and he does his, you know, things in the South that you need to know kind of thing. And he said, if someone's not from the South, don't let them plan a wedding on a fall Saturday because they don't know no better. there's a picture of the bride crying. You know, too many of y'all have been married on fall Saturdays.
We moved that day like back and forth a lot of places, and finally we just picked that date. I was like, man, Wes ain't gonna like that. She's like, I'm not getting married around Wes Cook's UT schedule.
It was everybody's football schedule. And then the whole time, the girls are like, why aren't y'all out there dancing? Because they're watching the game. They're watching the game. It's as basic as that. You got married on a Saturday in the fall. Steve, I remember my buddy Sean, Sean that's on Wednesdays, he got married, and every single one of them, the wives are upset because they're not into that. They're into the actual game. And then another buddy of mine, he got married in the fall. This is years ago, and it was during Alabama, Auburn, Florida State, Florida. Dude, you know how many people dipped out right after the I do's? It was a wrap. I was polite and stayed, but it was rough. Like they're crying in the punch bowl. All right, brother. We will see you next Friday. Maybe even I don't know if you're dropping in on us on Saturdays in the future, but just kind of hit me up on that if you're going to be jumping in on the next Saturday.
Hey, it was good to see you last weekend, man.
You too, brother. I miss all of y'all. But if I lived up there, I never would have made it. Later. We'll see you tomorrow morning, y'all, 8:30 a.m. Eastern for Dixie Football Nation. We look forward to. Actually, I'll probably pop on a tad early to do the take me out to the ball game because there's a lot in the world of sports that we'll be catching you up on. Look for us around 8:15 Eastern, and we will have a great Friday here on the Armchair Quarterbacks.
It's Friday, working stiffs. Everybody.
4, 3, 2, 1. Happy weekend!
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show.
Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get another cigarette, please.